Hi everyone, Miss K here. In this video today, I'm going to help you learn how to use just red, yellow, and blue to make all the different colors by layering using colored pencils. So give me just a moment and I will share my screen so you guys can see my worksheet. This should be the exact same worksheet that you have in front of you. Okay, so we just took some time learning about color theory. You guys have all your different vocabulary words over here that you should have written definitions for. Make sure that you have definitions as well as a small visual example. This is super easy points. And then on this side, we're going to color in a color wheel. So you should also all have red, yellow, and blue colored pencils in front of you. Please make sure that it is your red colored pencil, that it is bright red, bright yellow, and primary blue. You don't want a sky blue, you don't want a light blue, you want it to be the primary colors, okay? So we're gonna start just like we did when we were practicing with our colored pencils. I'm gonna show you how to properly and effectively layer colored pencils. So we have 3 practice rounds before we have to worry about layering different colors on top of each other. So we're gonna go ahead and start with red. I always like to start with red. I don't know why, just kind of my thing. But before we get started layering with our red color pencil, you want to take a moment and trace the outer edge of your circle, just so you don't color outside the lines. You want to be very careful, kind of trace the outer edge very lightly with colored pencil. So you have the whole area colored in. This line that on your paper is black, but on your paper you're coloring red, would be called the contour line of the circle. So it's the outer edge of the circle. So I like to shade that in just so I don't color outside the lines. It just kind of helps me stay inside a center. Okay, so we're gonna practice with cross-hatching our colors. So I'm just gonna take my red and I'm going to, as smoothly as possible and as lightly as possible, do 1 layer of color. I want you to note that I am holding my pencil about 1 inch to 2 inches above where my tip of my pencil is. I'm not holding it down here and I'm not coloring up and down. I am coloring from the side using the side tip of my pencil. So that's always how you should be coloring with colored pencils. Your first layer should not be dark. If it is dark, you are doing something wrong. Sorry guys, something just popped up on my computer. Okay. Hopefully you guys can still see that. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish doing my first layer. You wanna make sure you're filling up that entire circle, that there's no white spaces, and that it's a nice light layer of color. Okay, so I have 1 layer of color. I'm gonna go ahead and rotate my paper and I'm going to cross hatch, which just means I'm coloring in the opposite direction. And I'm doing a 2nd layer of my color. Okay, again, make sure that it looks consistent everywhere. Some of you might just have a desire to rush this and go really hard, really quickly. That is not what you should be doing. I promise you this step-by-step following what I'm doing is going to help you as we continue going around this circle. So you need to be doing these light layers. Please do not press hard and think you're rushing to get through it to try to get it done quicker, because it's going to end up kicking you in the butt in a couple minutes when we start doing our secondary and tertiary colors. Okay, so I've done 2 layers. I'm gonna go ahead and do a 3rd layer. So as you can tell, with each additional layer, my color is getting more and more intense, but I'm still not pressing hard. Please remember that your hand should never, ever, ever hurt when you're coloring using colored pencil or really any material. If it's hurting, you are pressing way too hard. So I like to take my pencil and do like circular motions over here on the edge, just to make sure I get those edge and I don't get something called a halo effect. A halo effect is when you have the white of your paper that is showing and it's accidental. So it's just showing you weren't paying attention to where you were coloring. Okay. So that's pretty consistent. I'm going to go ahead and just continue rotating my paper and adding additional layers. So this is going to be my, I believe it's my 4th layer of color. Okay, and once I get to this point where I have nice layers of my color, I can start to press a little bit harder, but I'm still not pressing crazy hard. And again, my goal is to get as intense of a color as possible to fill up all the white of my paper as much as humanly possible. So I'm just going to go ahead, continue coloring that in. Again, I'm not pressing crazy hard, but I am layering my pencil over and over again. And like I said, once you get to this point, you have lots of your pigment on the paper. You can, go in a more circular motion, try to get all that white of your paper lifted off. And I'm really paying attention to those edges, trying to get all the edges covered without, let me zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. So all those edges covered without going outside the line. Okay, so again, just taking that time to color. So my rule of thumb is that if this is taking me this long to do, it should take you at least this long to do. Please remember that I am a trained artist. I have had years and years and years to practice this. So I am inherently quicker than you guys are. That is the benefit of recording these videos. So you can pause if I'm moving too fast. You can also go back if you missed something that was important. So all of those are good things, okay? So please just take your time, layer these colors, and you should be taking at least as long as I am to work on this, okay? So anywhere where it doesn't look consistent are places you're going to need to go over again. So this is why we tend to hatch and cross hatch, just to cover these areas evenly. Again, if you choose to kind of go in that circular motion, just make sure that it is consistent. So I'm almost there, so close. And as you can also tell, I am rotating my paper. That's how I prefer to work. I think it works. It's the easiest. But some people, if you don't want to rotate your paper, I can't force you to. It's a choice. That's just how I personally prefer to work. Okay, so I have a nice intense color over here. And I would say that's pretty consistent all the way across, probably about as consistent as you can get with color pencil. I might spend a little bit more time going over it in a bit, but I think for right now and for our purposes today, that is pretty good. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and move on to yellow. Yellow is going to be here. With yellow, remember, it is so easy to be lazy. You do not want to be lazy. So you really want to focus on those first 4 initial layers of yellow. But actually for yellow, we're going to intentionally do at least 6 before we start doing that circular motion. Okay, so just like what we did with our other ones, you want to start by taking your contour line and just tracing that contour line out all the way around. And it's okay for your contour line for these guys, for your red, yellow, and blue, if you press a little bit harder, like you can tell I was holding it closer and I was putting on a little bit more pressure. So that's a pretty intense yellow. But make sure, again, to practice with your layers, doing light layers, slowly building on each other, because it's going to really help with our cross hatching when we get to the rest of our colors. Okay, so we're going to go in one direction. Okay, again, remember to do everything twice with yellow because it's so easy to be lazy with yellow color pencil, especially on white paper, because it's so hard to see. So please do everything twice. So I did one layer in one direction, and I'm doing my second layer in the same direction. Then I'm going to rotate my paper and do the exact same thing. So I'm cross hatching, going in the opposite direction. I'm noticing, paying attention to where I'm coloring. Okay, going to do the exact same thing one more time. Okay, Then I'm going to rotate my paper again, do the exact same thing again. Okay, and I did one layer. I'm going to do one more layer before I start doing my circular motion. Okay, so looking at this, I don't know if you can tell on the projector, but it looks more or less okay. But if you look up close, you can still see that it has some of those divots that this guy had earlier. So that's where I'm going to just take my yellow again and really focus on layering it. It is okay at this point to press a little bit harder. You'll notice my hand is holding it farther down. Only when you get to this point is it okay to press harder, when you already have a lot of your pigment down. Okay, so I feel like I've done really nice layers. I think it's looking really good. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and keep that. As you can tell, it's just really strong yellow. There's no gaps or anything. So I'm gonna keep it as is. So right now you should have red and yellow completed. I'm gonna go ahead and move on to blue, and it's the exact same process. So I'm going to start by tracing that contour line of my blue. I want you to notice that I'm not pressing hard with my blue like I did with my yellow, because my blue is such a dark color. And we'll get into that, especially when we start talking about your secondary and your tertiary colors. Okay, so I went ahead and traced that outer edge. I'm gonna really make sure I get the edge correctly. Just take your time again. Okay, so I did blue. I traced that contour line of my circle. Again, that helps you not color outside the lines. I'm gonna go ahead and do one layer of my blue, very lightly, but very carefully. Again, you're holding the pencil at least an inch away. You're coloring with the side. This is so important, so please make sure that this is how you are holding your pencil. Notice too, I'm not like doing like one stroke all the way across. That's why some students color outside the lines. I'm doing like two. So I have a lot of control over this shorter area. Okay, and when I do my second layer, I'm being careful to try to not get a line here. You can start to see a line there. So you kind of stop wherever you started on your last one. Those will start to naturally go away. Okay, so I've done one layer of blue. I think I need a little bit more right here. You can go ahead and do another layer in the same direction. I think I'm going to do that just to make sure it's nice and smooth. Okay, then I'm going to take my paper and rotate it, and I'm going to crosshatch in the opposite direction. Exact same process, still pressing lightly. Okay, so I did an additional layer. I'm going to do another layer in that same direction. Again, slow and steady wins the race. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to just slow down when you're coloring and notice and pay attention. So look at what you're doing, study it, don't rush, be careful, focus. Sometimes we have a little bit of a hard time with that in some of my classes. So that's really all it takes to be an artist, is to slow down, to be mindful, and to think about what you're doing. And again, the more you practice, the better you're going to get. Okay, so I've done 2 layers one direction, 2 layers the other direction. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more layers in another direction. So I just rotated it again. And I'm really making sure to color the whole section. So going all the way up, all the way down. You can start to move in like a circular motion, like what I'm doing, to make sure you're getting all the white of your paper. Okay, so I did like maybe another 2 layers going in one direction. And I'm just going to take a few more minutes and just really color it in, see is there anywhere that I need to shade just more of that white paper? Is there anywhere that looks inconsistent, et cetera, et cetera? You really want to pay attention again to your edges, staying focused. This is kind of the point where I notice some students will just get frustrated and you'll press really hard and you'll color really quickly and then it goes everywhere. So again, slow down, relax a little bit, and layer your colors. Okay, so by the time you finish, you should have just red, just yellow, and just blue. Your spheres should be pretty consistent. They should all look more or less completed. There shouldn't be like major areas of blank spots. So you really want to look and study and make sure that yours is looking like that. Go ahead and take a couple minutes, keep adding some layers. I'm probably going to add a little more layers of blue to your paper. And then when you feel like you're completely done with these 3, you can go ahead and play the next video where I'm going to teach you how to mix the secondary colors using just red, yellow, and blue. Okay, so I will see all of you guys in the next video. Talk to you later. Bye.